Joining us now by phone is Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois. She's a former Black Hawk helicopter pilot. Senator Duckworth, what do you know about this at this point, and what is your reaction to what we've seen so far?
On the runway right now as well.
In terms of just watching the news reports, and I should be getting an FAA briefing tomorrow. That has been offered to members of the committee. You know, as far as the airspace is concerned, we've known that this airspace is very, very full. In fact, last year there were 2 near misses at DCA in May, and then again in April. And this is something we addressed with the FAA reauthorization, that, you know, this is very, very, very busy airspace. I'd like to know if there was just one Black Hawk or if there were two, a formation of flight of 2, because usually it's 2 aircraft together when the military is flying. But very interesting to have a lone Black Hawk by itself, which does mean that perhaps it was headed back to base. But I am just watching this like everybody else. But we've known that this airspace is very, very, very busy, and we're praying for that there are more survivors.
We now have on our screen a live shot in one corner of National Airport right now. We've also been showing a recorded video earlier in the night of the actual collision. Senator, what would have to go wrong in the operations or the alert systems on a Black Hawk helicopter for it to end up in a collision with a commercial airliner?
Well, the Black Hawks, they don't have the same alert system as the commercial airliners do. And remember, the Black Hawk is operating at a much lower level, especially in that corridor that they're flying in. That's probably, it looks like helicopter route 1 that perhaps they were on. If I'm somewhat familiar with the area. I've flown in this area in general aviation aircraft myself, but not on the helicopter route. And so they wouldn't have an alert system within the Black Hawk itself telling them that, you know, alert, 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 near miss. At least not in the Black Hawks I flew. What is interesting is how low this collision seems to have happened from the video, from the footage that I'm looking at. We're talking just about 200-300 feet. And so it would be interesting to know exactly how high this incident happened at. But the Black Hawk would not be equipped with the same type of equipment that the commercial airliner would have.
Senator, what are the visibility vulnerabilities on a Black Hawk? What are the areas of sight that are difficult? Angles, above, looking up, looking down, looking left, looking right?
Well, I mean, it's actually pretty good. You have the greenhouse above you, which are the windows above your head. You've got the chin bubble underneath you, your doors, and you know, usually the Black Hawk flies with the 2 pilots, but usually there's a crew chief looking out the side. You know, sometimes you have another member of the crew looking out. Usually the crew chief would be looking out one side, the other member of the crew out at the other side. So you can actually have pretty good visibility. So it is quite surprising that you would have this incident happening. The only thing I can think of is that there is somehow an aircraft strayed off of its flight path, and that would allow this collision to happen at this level. But again, the Black Hawk is not going to have the type of alerts that their commercial airliner would have, and is up to the crew to be flying. And we would need to know whether the Black Hawk crew was flying under goggles, which is night vision goggles, or whether they were flying, you know, with unassisted devices in terms of just using their sights as opposed to using night vision goggle devices on this route. It's a pretty bright area to be under night vision goggles, but perhaps they were. You know, we're just watching to see what's happening here, and that will be one of the questions I will be asking tomorrow when we get the official briefings as to what were the flight conditions that the Black Hawk was operating under.
The NBC News correspondent Courtney Kuby is now reporting that at least 3 U.S. Army soldiers were on the Black Hawk helicopter. Is that the normal crew you would expect now to have on a helicopter like that?
Yes, that would be the normal crew. It would be the pilot, co-pilot, and the crew chief. Sometimes there'll be a fourth person on board just to have additional visibility out, on both sides of the aircraft. But the standard crew would be the pilot, co-pilot, and the crew chief sitting, and the crew chief sits directly behind the flight crew, the two pilots, looking out the side of the aircraft. And so you have actually pretty good visibility. In fact, I think you often have better visibility looking out the Black Hawk than you do an airliner, where you just have those smaller windows, because you can look up through the window above your head as well as beneath you. And if this is a case where the airliner is coming down, I would think that it would be the Black Hawk contacting the underside of the airliner as opposed to, the opposite. But again, there's just so little information right now, and my focus is right now on seeing how many survivors we're going to be able to rescue tonight.
Senator Tammy Duckworth, thank you so much for your expertise, and your focus on survivors is exactly where we should all be thinking right now. Thank you very much for joining our coverage tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.